I'll show you guys the clip where Donald Trump is saying that I am the only candidate that you can say will not start World War III. Now, for one, that completely undercuts the entire Democratic field. And how embarrassing is it that I say the entire Democratic Party field? Because Marianne Williamson is for supporting the Ukraine war. What a resistance for Biden. Hey, I'm going to challenge Joe Biden, the commander-in-chief for his office, but I agree with him on foreign policy. What a great oppositional stance. So with Trump saying that, he automatically destroys the Democratic field if you're a serious person. So DeSantis, being the political opportunist and the worm that he is, now is agreeing with Donald Trump. Now, the reason why I say he's a worm, because Morning Joe's going to bring this up very soon. That's my next segment. DeSantis is a standard neocon. And this is why I'm glad you named this segment, Donald Trump pushing the Republicans to the right. Because now you're going to see a lot of these Republicans who have a history of being to the right. Like DeSantis criticized Barack Obama for not arming Ukraine more. I'm gonna show that later. But now he's being forced to take this position because of Trump, because the pressure on national politics. What does that say? So this is what DeSantis is saying. This is his line, and this is the line I knew a lot of neocons are going to use. This is what we should be careful from as leftists. It said further U.S. involvement in Ukraine is not vital national interest, said DeSantis. So once again, good comment, but as leftists, we should raise our eyebrow, because what do you mean by that? It's not a vital national interest. So what DeSantis does consider a vital national interest is Venezuela, for example, Colombia, for example, who he called for regime change, despite the fact that they elected a social democrat. He called for regime change and us to get more involved in South America because they're promoting socialism. So do not fall for the head fake here. This is DeSantis, and I think this is a win for the Ukraine narrative, because DeSantis wouldn't do this if our argument wasn't gaining steam. You know what I mean? Like if the Ukraine criticism of the establishment wasn't influential, DeSantis would just challenge Trump on that. So this is actually good because it showed that, oh shit, these motherfuckers criticizing Biden's onto something. So we don't want to go down that path. So the last thing I want to share, because I'll pass to you guys after this, is this hilarious segment I saw.
Oh Lord.
From my favorite, Morning Joe. And let's just bask in the glory of this segment. I was watching this segment with a smile on my face, because watch this meltdown that they had, because they've been probably at DeSantis the same way Fox News has been doing, because even though they don't like DeSantis because of the COVID policies, they much prefer DeSantis because he's, once again, represent more civility politics. He represents more of an established neocon order. So once DeSantis said this, woo, they did not handle it well. Let's play the video, and feel free to interrupt anytime. It's funny. This is funny.
Anyway, as he weighs the 2024 presidential run, Ron DeSantis is calling on the United States to detangle itself from the war in Ukraine. In an answer to a Fox News questionnaire released this week, DeSantis said, quote, "While the U.S. has many vital national interests, becoming further entangled in a territorial dispute between Ukraine and Russia is not one of them." He later accused the Biden administration of driving Russia into a de facto alliance with China and empowering Putin's war machine at America's expense. But back in 2015, when
that's the neocon, that's the neocon criticism. That's the one they had to make up, right? Because our criticism obviously is we shouldn't be funding the military-industrial complex promoting war. We should be promoting peace, trade, and prosperity. Ron DeSantis can't even bring himself to say that. He's like, I don't support the Ukraine war because they pushing China to Russia. We should be focused more on China. You guys, it's not a criticism I like, to be honest. It's good that he's calling it out, but it's still a right-wing criticism. Anything you guys want to add on before I continue?
That's the case with a lot of them, though. I said the same thing about Tulsi Gabbard. She may not approve of this war with Russia and Ukraine, but then you start talking about China and her stance changes.
Yep. Well said, Savvy. I'll let it continue. Just interrupt if you guys want to chime in.
Obama's President DeSantis had this to say, quote, "We in the Congress have been urging the president. I've been to provide arms to Ukraine. They want to fight their good fight. They're not asking us to fight it for them."
This is them calling him out for his old position.
Steadfastly refused, and I think that that's a mistake. That was back then. DeSantis is not alone in his current rhetoric. Here is some of what former President Donald Trump has said about the war, including his most recent comments where he suggested negotiating off a part of Ukraine.
And oh my God, I swear to God, look at this next part of the segment. They are about to fall for the trap, guys. These Democrat idiots are about to run a campaign where they're like, "Oh my God, the Republicans are pulling puppets and supporters. This is why you should vote for us." If they do that, they're gonna get shellacked.
Demolished. They're gonna get demolished.
Now look at the talking point they're gonna try to use to criticize them because they're like, "Oh my God, you guys see this insane position of Trump advocating for peace?" Let's continue.
And pause it. Don't. Because it was hard. Now, Morning Joe covered this, but they're covering it in a very slanted way, and that's why you're bringing this up. But it's hard to find anybody covering what DeSantis said in the media explicitly.
Yeah.
Even when you click on the video, like there's an MSNBC video, another one, where you click on the video where they're talking about it. It's titled that DeSantis, but when you click on it, they're talking about Trump the entire time. Like it's such a thing. They want to tippy-toe around him coming out what this stands on DeSantis. Because now you have the two top people. It's either going to be DeSantis or Trump. So effectively, the GOP is the anti-war candidate in the presidential race in 2024. It doesn't matter who comes out of the GOP.
Yeah.
Go ahead. You were going to say something.
That's sad. Let's continue. Feel free to interrupt if you guys want to chime in.
I could have negotiated. At worst, I could have made a deal to take over something. You know, there are certain areas that are Russian-speaking areas, frankly. But you could have worked a deal.
I was also the only president where Russia didn't take over a country during my term.
That's such a funny thing to say.
Because I got along with Vladimir Putin very well. I said, Vladimir, don't do it. You know, you and I are friends. Don't take over any countries because, you know, Moscow will be hit very hard. Television screen.
Okay, that's literally. I'm not laughing because he's like ha funny, but that's objectively funny. Let's continue.
Declares a big portion of the Ukraine. Putin declares it as independent. Oh, that's wonderful. So Putin is now saying it's independent, a large section of Ukraine. I said, how smart is that? And he's going to go in and be peacekeeper. That's the strongest peace force. We could use that on our southern border.
And he's right because that ends the Ukraine civil war that everyone forgot about. Even if you had this hypothetical where they're like, if you want to end the war, just Russia lead the troops. That won't end the war. Russia will lead the troops, and then the Ukrainian fascists will continue to slaughter other Russians in the Donbass. In fact, it's going to be worse. It's going to be worse. They kill people for having pro-Russian sentiments. Imagine what they're going to do to the people who corroborated and worked with the Russians during their occupation. Boy, if Russia leaves Eastern Ukraine, it's going to be a slaughter.
Yeah,
it's going to be a slaughter. They're going to kill everybody. So what Trump is saying, and he's saying it in a goofy way, but he is 100% right here. With Trump, by labeling them independent, by having Russian occupation there, that creates the peace there. That will be the peacekeeper, and that is what they want, and that is what the West is trying to do everything to stop. So you guys know how I feel about Trump. I told you guys in the beginning of the segment, I don't believe him on his intentions here, but he is 100% right here. Sorry, let me continue because there's a lot more funny part of this segment. Let's continue.
That's the strongest peace force I've ever seen. There were more army tanks than I've ever seen. They're going to keep peace all right. No, but think of it. Here's a guy who's very savvy. I know him very well. Very, very well.
So, Joe, this starts, of course, with, once again, Donald Trump expressing kind words for Vladimir Putin. Yep. But I think there's something actually far more dangerous about this. This is now DeSantis was suggesting that this is deeming this war a territorial dispute between Ukraine and Russia.
And it is.
Russia invading Ukraine, suggesting that the Biden administration, the U.S., is too involved in that war and that we should pull back. That puts DeSantis where Trump is, and very different where most Republicans are.
I love the tone he has. You're like, oh my God, he's telling the truth. He's saying it's a territorial dispute. He brings up the history here. Oh my God, how dare him?
Including others like Mike Pence, Mike Pompeo, who are rumored to be running for president. So that means the two leading voices, because right now this is a two-man race. The two leading voices of the Republican Party are both saying the U.S. is too involved in that war. What does that do? That gives credence to Vladimir Putin's theory that time is on his side, that he can wait out this war. He can wait until the next president.
And that's true. That's exactly what we said, CJ, isn't it?
Yep, that's exactly what we said.
the West keep putting these arbitrary goals and guidelines on Russia. Oh my God, Russia having completely taken over the whole state of Ukraine, even though Russia never stated they wouldn't do that. Russia literally only had to play the waiting game until the West run out of ammunition, until Ukraine run out of fucking human shields that they're throwing at Russia. Time is on their side because Russia literally only got started. That's why everyone said that you got to advocate for peace, because this war is lost the second Russia decided to invade Ukraine. Unless you win the full-fledged nuclear war. This shit where you're going to be halfway in, halfway out, that is not how you're going to defeat a global nuclear power as Russia. And they're now coming to the conclusion. Like, man, if Donald Trump take power and people lose the political will to support Ukraine, man, we're fucked. Yes, exactly as we've been saying. That's why you should have been negotiating for peace. Right?
Now, Nick and Savvy and JB, what he's setting up, Jonathan Lemire, that's him on the right, he's setting up a ball in the volleyball terms. He's throwing a spike. He's throwing it up for Joe Scarborough to come in and spike this, because think about who's watching this. The weapons manufacturers, CEOs are watching this. So he's like, I got to give the best performance of my life in this segment. Because of this, we have half of the uniparty that's saying we don't want to give any money, at least saying it out loud. We don't want to give any money to the, or we want to put a stop to the money that we're going to be sending to weapons manufacturers. So he's been sent in to really make the point. So go ahead. I just wanted to preface with that. And I don't even know. I haven't even seen this.
Yeah,
but I know I can preface it like that. Go ahead.
Yeah, it gets worse. I'm gonna let a bit more of it play here because it gets more desperate, man. And the whole China, you guys know that the Yemen war about to come to the end because of China. Yes. And now they want to meet with Ukraine and Russia. They're embarrassing the U.S. on the global stage. And now the U.S. is in such a weak position that this segment is hilarious to watch to me. Because you see the desperation that's coming from these people. And I'll let it continue. You guys see what I mean.
Presidential election. And if he continues to grind on, keeps the battle going through 2024, there's a pretty good chance that if a Republican is elected, that Republican, well, will back off and may let Putin take part of Ukraine.
Well, you just heard Donald Trump there. This is genius. It's wonderful talking about the invasion of Ukraine. We should do that. We could use that in America, Donald Trump says. Talks about how savvy he is. The Russians have now lost what? 100,000, 200,000 troops. It's been the worst.
I love how they always bring up the Russian casualty list as if the Ukrainians isn't like 2 times more. Like the Ukrainians, especially in Bakhmut, bro, they lost a ton of people, body bags of soldiers. But they always bring up the Russian civilian count, ignoring the Ukrainian lives because they don't care about them.
Decision for Vladimir Putin, and not only in his reign, but probably he's going to be seen as a guy responsible for the complete collapse of Russia in time. But Caddy K, this is dangerous, not just because of the message it sends to Vladimir Putin, where he says, well, all I need to do is try to interfere in the next American presidential election, help a Republican, DeSantis or Trump, get elected, and they're going to do my bidding for me. They're going to undercut NATO. They're going to do all the things that Trump did.
This lady right here,
when he was president.
Let's let it play for her because she is DeSantis, unbelievable.
But of course, the thing that really concerns me just as much or more, and I'm sure you as well, with all the diplomats and leaders I've spoken with over the past year, with all the generals, admirals, war strategists I've spoken to over the past year, the biggest concern is that our allies don't stand shoulder to shoulder with us. Leaders, European leaders telling me, sure, Biden's fine. We're doing great with Biden. America's back. But is America back for 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? And then we get Donald Trump again. And now they see Ron DeSantis, who's the second most likely person to be president of the United States, other than perhaps Joe Biden. He's also talking about a retreat. He's not talking about leading from behind. Republicans trashed Barack Obama for saying that. Ron DeSantis is talking about something far worse. He's talking about trashing the international order.
Trashing the international order. You guys see what this is really about?
Yes, hegemony. Yes, that's what he's talking about.
You don't want to continue the endless war. You don't want to continue the the demonization of Russia. He destroyed the international order. This entire video is not a critique of DeSantis and Trump to the left. This is a critique of both these guys to the right. And imagine how garbage you have to be to critique Trump and DeSantis to the right. You got those two people, and that's what you're focused on. They're not pro-war enough.
And you're supposed to be the left party. You're supposed to be the left channel. And this is your critique. You have a fear of retreat. And the thing is, they're talking about years out. They're talking about years out. So they're afraid of somebody getting into power that's going to stop the war 2 years from now. So you are acknowledging then that you expect this war to continue for several more years. Go ahead, JB or Savvy, if you want to.
Yeah, they are not wanting to keep this war short. And really it's truly only about just maintaining what it is in the military. Trump and DeSantis only have the positions that they have because Biden and the Democrats have the position they have. If it will reverse, then Trump and the Republicans and DeSantis would have different positions. That's the only reason why they're in opposition, because they have to say something oppositional in order to make themselves sound different. Because truth be told, it would have been the same outcome. This is an article out of the Gray Zone. It says former Israeli Prime Minister Bennett says U.S. blocked his attempts at a Russia-Ukraine peace deal. So basically, it would have been the same thing whether Trump was still in office. And so the proxy war in Ukraine is really just the Republicans and Democrats being employed by the military-industrial complex in order to make more money. So it's just a different work. It's just a different worker for them.
I was just going to say, notice he's already started the narrative that if Trump or DeSantis were to win, it will be because of Russian interference. He already created that narrative, just FYI.